and actual financial value of the milk solids from the dairy cows. Now, what they found was that the low organic matter fields produced decreased dry matter yields and lower milk solids, and that the dry matter yields and milk solids were significantly higher in the high organic matter fields. This amounted to an additional $150 per hectare in milk solids having high organic matter fields versus low, and the accumulated loss for the low organic matter fields was greater than $1,200 on a per hectare basis. At Iowa State University, at the Leopold Center for Sustainable Agriculture, they conducted a long-term study from 2003 to 2011, which in today's world is very rare in academia anymore, folks. In academia, just having been there, everybody now wants very quick studies. So having a multi-year study like this that runs close to a decade is almost unheard of. But what they did was they compared the standard 2-year corn-soybean rotation to a 3- and 4-year row crop livestock rotation worked in, again with the corn and soybeans. Their hypothesis was that cropping system diversification would promote ecosystems that would supplement and maybe even eventually displace synthetic external inputs, to be able to maintain adequate crop productivity. Now, this is a statement made by one of the authors of this study when it was published, that one of the key challenges of the 21st century is developing ways to produce sufficient amounts of food while protecting our environmental quality and economic well-being of our rural communities. Over the last half century, conventional approaches have relied heavily on manufactured fertilizers and pesticides to increase yields, and yes, we have, but we've also had some issues connected with that. So consequently, what the authors intended was to direct attention toward the development of crop production systems that would improve these efficiencies with more benign effects on the environment. So again, they looked at incorporating cocktail cover crop mixtures and livestock impact with the row crops in rotation, and they found that the livestock cover crop rotations were just as profitable as the 2-year crop rotations. They also found that weeds were very effectively managed to the point that they were able to reduce herbicide usage up to 88%. Their labor costs were higher, in the livestock, incorporating the livestock rotations, because then you had to build fences, you had to manage the livestock and so forth, but they found that those increased input costs with the livestock were more than offset by lowering your cost in synthetic fertilizer use and herbicide use. Weed control, they found, again, was significantly improved, and herbicide usage was 6 to 10 times lower. Another interesting factor that they found was that freshwater toxicity, incorporating some other practices, was 200 times lower using this type of rotation. Now I'm going to give you some results here from Gabe Brown up near Bismarck, North Dakota. There is a very active group up in that part of the country, and if you can actually Google Burleigh County Soil Conservation District, and go to that website, and it has an absolute wealth of data and information looking at being able to utilize various practices, build soil organic matter, build soil microbial populations, and so forth. Now, in utilizing practices and strategies that build soil organic matter and soil microbial populations, here's what they've been able to achieve on the Brown farm. They're in an area in North Dakota where the average corn yield runs about 120 bushels per acre. The average corn yield runs about 120 bushels per acre. Their yield last year, or in 2011, as they've built up, their organic matter and soil microbial populations was 159 bushels per acre. The value at that time was $6.48 a bushel. for a gross income per acre of just over $1,000. Their total input cost was $209. They were able to, he reduced fertilizer and other inputs greater than 90%. Greater than 90%. That's the power of soil microbes. Okay? So his total cost was around $210 per acre, and bottom line is that his cost to produce a bushel of corn was $1.32. $1.32. Okay? Same thing with wheat crop. Okay? Same type of situation, and the bottom line was that his cost to produce a bushel of wheat was down around $1.88 for a total return per bushel of $6.21. Now, if we look at forage dry matter yields at the same farm, same ranch, comparing high and low microbial activity fields, okay, they found, take a look at this. In the high microbial activity fields, dry matter production on pounds per acre of forage was 8,500 pounds compared to 2,500 pounds in the low microbial fields. Okay? So a very, very significant difference. Now, this low microbial field is some rented ground that they had just acquired, and we did quantify actual soil microbial activity prior to starting this. Okay? And again, this is just the same thing represented graphically. And this is what we did to quantify soil microbial activity. We looked at a phospholipid fatty acid analysis, okay, PLFAs. Now, every living organism, all membranes require PLFAs, okay, to function properly. So they're unique to living membranes. All right, so if you analyze this, you're identifying living organisms in the soil. So a PLFA test indicates living biomass of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, so on and so forth. We also want to look at saturated to unsaturated ratios, just like we look at in our diet, okay? In microbes and in the soil, saturated to unsaturated fatty acids is important, okay? If you have a higher ratio of saturated, that's an indicator of stress in the microbial community. If you have a higher unsaturated fatty acid ratio, that's an indicator of very high functional levels of microbes that are functioning optimally, just like in our bodies. Okay? Now, this is what you will get when you run this analysis. And I know this is a busy table, but I just wanted to put this up here to show the level of detail that we've gone through to very clearly identify our soil microbial population and the activity in that soil. One other thing in this, notice that we also are looking at predator to prey ratios and nematode to protozoa ratios, okay? Remember what we talked about earlier? To be able to maintain healthy populations of anything, you have to have the proper predator to prey ratio. And so that's just as critical here, and this analysis tells us where we stand in that regard. Okay, so a very quick explanation of that table is this. First of all, in that data, in that table, we had a large amount of PLFA. That tells us we had very high microbial populations with a lot of activity. We had an excellent saturated to unsaturated ratio, so that told us that the microbes were highly adapted to their environment and were actively exchanging nutrients. Okay? Protozoa numbers are high, indicating a well-structured soil with a higher nutrient turnover and a better predator-to-prey relationship or ratio. And what we noticed above the ground and what he's noticed as they've been able to build on this farm better organic matter and soil microbial populations, the wildlife population is getting stronger and stronger. So they're deriving more and more income off of that ancillary enterprise, being able to incorporate wildlife into it. Okay, so soil microbials then give us the opportunity of enhancing plant health and stress tolerance, of increasing